Mediation efforts continue in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. However, as the fighting continues, diverse peace plans have been put forward. French President Emmanuel Macron has now arrived in Jordan after a visit to Israel and the West Bank. Amid calls for a slowdown, Israeli officials continue to be adamant on the expected ground offensive, while the death toll keeps on mounting. More than 7,000 Palestinians were killed overnight by Israeli airstrikes, as per Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry. This is the highest 24-hour death toll since the war broke out. The Israeli military says it had hit over 400 Hamas targets and killed dozens of militants overnight. Meanwhile, rocket warning sirens continue to ring in Israel. They sounded in several central Israeli towns in the last 24 hours. Visuals show Israel's Iron Dome intercepting the rocket fired. Moving on to a very pressing concern at the moment, which is the humanitarian aid access to Gaza. On Tuesday, 8 trucks containing food, water and medicine were able to enter the besieged enclave. However, that number was supposed to be 20. No explanation has been given as to why the rest of the trucks did not enter. So far, a total of 54 aid trucks have entered Gaza over the last several days. But as per UN agencies, about 100 trucks should be entering daily. Gaza needs a much higher volume of aid. And a discussion regarding this took place in the United Nations Security Council on Tuesday as well. And all nations agreed that more humanitarian aid should be delivered into Gaza urgently. But the nations proposed rival plans for the same objective. The United States has called for a pause in the conflict so that aid could be delivered. Now, a pause here, that's generally considered less formal, for a shorter duration, of course, than a ceasefire. However, Russia wants a complete, immediate ceasefire, and this plan has been backed by all Arab nations. As UN debates this issue, Gaza, it's running out of crucial materials. Hospitals in Gaza are operating without fuel, and doctors have warned that critical equipment like incubators for newborns would stop working soon. As per the World Health Organization, 6 hospitals in Gaza were forced to shut down due to lack of fuel. As per the United Nations, Gaza needs at least 160,000 litres of fuel a day to power basic necessities. And as per reports, Israel, it's now blocked the Palestinians' access to Al-Aqsa Mosque premises. And this marks the first time the mosque has been completely closed to Muslims in several months. Israeli police have imposed tight restrictions on the entry worshippers into the mosque. Meanwhile, Western nations continue their shuttle diplomacy as they engage with Israeli and Arab leaders. In the latest, French President Emmanuel Macron met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and will now meet Jordan's King Abdullah II. Macron, during his meet with Palestinian leader, reiterated the need for a two-state solution. He called for an immediate end of aggression on Gaza. While in Israel, the French president also proposed an international coalition fighting Islamic State in Iraq and Syria to now widen its scope to also include the fight against Hamas in Gaza. However, no details on how this US-led coalition of dozens of countries, of which in fact Israel is not a member, could be involved. However, as per his advisors, this coalition, it wouldn't necessarily imply boots on the ground, but could include intelligence sharing. So there seems to be no clear plan of action in place right now, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did not directly comment on this proposal, but said that the fight, it was a battle between the axis of evil and the free world. US President Joe Biden spoke with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman about the situation in West Asia. Biden affirmed that the United States, it fully supports the defense of US partners facing terrorist threats. The two leaders agreed on pursuing broader diplomatic efforts to maintain stability across the region and prevent the conflict from expanding. Meanwhile, Netanyahu told his soldiers that a ground offensive is coming. So Israel remains adamant about a ground offensive. He said that the offensive was still on track amid the growing sense of military delay. Israeli Chief of Staff also said that the country's forces are in fact ready for the ground operation in Gaza. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant wants soldiers to be prepared. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.